In this video, we're going to be talking about Langchain agents and tools. Langchain's tools and agents integration turn using large language models such as GPT-3 into a whole new level and makes it that much more powerful. In this example, we're going to be using SERP API Google Search, a large language model which was specialized in mathematical calculations, and Wolfram Alpha, which is very good for mathematical and scientific answers. Let's begin with a demonstration. After that, we'll go over the code and the documentation, so you'll be able to put something like this together yourself. We're just going to be asking a simple question at first. How many countries are in the world? When we run this, Langchain starts a new agent executor chain and makes a problem statement. I need to find out how many countries there are. And it decides on an action, that is search. In this case, then it will be using the SERP API. So it asks the input which it created, which is how many countries are in the world. And then from the search result, it observes that there are 195 countries. And then it concludes to itself that I now know the final answer. And then it gives the final answer. There are 195 countries in the world. And then it finishes the chain. The question which we are asking Langchain simply just first goes to OpenAI's GPT-3 API. And a specialized prompt Langchain developers have created in the background asks itself some questions and then decides on whether to use search, a calculator, or Wolfram Alpha. And if it decides that it needs to use one of these actions, then it creates the input that needs to go to that particular tool. And after that, it executes the chain. Let's ask it another question to see how it works again. What is the combined population of capitals of France and Germany taken to the third power? So now we're asking of two cities, and we want their population to be combined, and the final number for the population to be taken to the third power mathematically. Let's see what happens. Entering a new agent executor chain, it asks, I need to find the population of each capital and then combine them. It asks for the population of Paris and Berlin, and then gets the population for Berlin and Paris. And then it adds them together, and then using a calculator, which is the math model, it takes it to the third power, and this is the answer, and it gives the final answer. We have two more examples. Let's go over them real quick. This time the question is, how far is Earth from the moon? This time Langchain decides that it's going to ask Wolfram Alpha and creates the input to Wolfram Alpha, distance between Earth and the moon. And observations are made, assumption moon, distance from Earth in notation, and gets the answer from Wolfram Alpha, and then displays the result. Being able to work with GPT-3 alongside of a search engine, a calculator, and a universal knowledge generator such as Wolfram Alpha is really powerful. To be able to use these tools, you will appropriately have to pip install the necessary ones, such as pip installing Langchain, pip installing OpenAI for GPT-3 API access, pip install Google-search-results is for SERP API, and pip install Wolfram Alpha. After you pip install OpenAI SERP API and Wolfram Alpha along with Langchain, you will need to get API keys from all the tools that you're going to be using, except for Langchain. I'll put the links in the description. This is for OpenAI. Here I click the API link. You have to make an account and sign in. Same with SERP API. Just make an account and get your API key. And with Wolfram Alpha, you need to create app ID with Wolfram Alpha. It requires a few steps, but it's self-explanatory. After you get your API keys, just search in your Windows search bar for env and find the edit the system environment variables. After that, you'll be clicking the environment variables and adding a user environment variable for each of the keys. I won't go there because then it will display my API keys publicly, but this is a very secure way of doing this. You can actually search Google for detailed tutorials on how to make this happen. After that, there are two ways to set your API keys. Here I'm displaying both options. You either set up an OpenAI _API _key. Here I am setting it from my user environment variables. If you were to do it this way, then you're good to go. Or You can also declare it when you're declaring and loading your tools for the Langchain. Here I'm declaring the SERP API key, and here I am declaring the Wolfram Alpha API key. I could have, I believe, also declared my OpenAI key here as well. If you've done this, I believe this won't be necessary, and if you actually declare it in the load tools line right here, then you wouldn't have to do this either. Just make sure to restart your Visual Studio Code or the IDE after setting the environment variables. Otherwise, this os.getEnv might just return a none type or none. Believe me, I struggled with this for 2 hours. Just make sure to restart it and you should be good to go. I have found that these are some of the tools that you can use and declare in this load tools option right here. SERP API is one, Wolfram Alpha, PalMath, PalColored Objects, News API, TDDM API, OpenMeteor API. This is better related. You can find all the integrations in Langchain's documentation at the very bottom of the page in the reference integration section. Here you can see that as OpenAI, Cohere, Hugging Face, SERP API, and many more, including Wikipedia. I will put these links in the description. I would recommend reading the Quick Start Guide before you begin. I have created a video talking about the Langchain prompt tools. I will also link that in the description as well. Getting started right under the Agents menu right here is a great tool to get going with the general code structure that you need to keep in mind. Under Utils section and How to Guides and Generic Utilities, you can actually get an overview of the generic utilities you can use. They are all very cool and it's very informative. Let's have a quick review of the code. These are just our imports that are necessary to have this type of Langchain chain going. As you see, this is just setting our environment API keys. LLM equals OpenAI is just setting up our main large language model, which will be GPT-3. So that's why we are importing OpenAI and setting it up with some parameters. Here, the only parameter that is given is the temperature, but you can give in other parameters as well. After that, you define your tools using the load tools method, which you're importing right here. And simply you just give the names of your methods and specify the LM that you're using. Here we have specified it. And then if you haven't declared your API keys, you can also declare it here. Then you initialize your agent with the initialize agent method, which we have imported. We give it the tools and an already predefined agent. And we set verbose to true so that it can display us as thought processes. And then simply we just ask it a question with agent.run. That's it. All in all, I think agents and tools are an incredibly powerful way of dealing with GPT-3 and additional functionality. This is all the code that you need to be able to get this thing running and going. I believe I'll end the video here, but please let me know in the comments if you have any questions or not. By the way, I started an EcoHive Discord channel. I'll put it in the description if you'd like to join the server at Discord. Thank you and take care.